Hey guys, my name's Klein. Welcome back to my channel. This is the second video that I have made on my channel. The purpose of today's video is to show you how I installed my Taylor battery relocation kit. I bought it straight off of Summit's website, and I have actually linked it below in the description so that you can buy the exact same kit if you wanted to. This video would apply to all 94 through 04 Mustangs. The gas tank in the back of the car is in the same location throughout that entire generation. This isn't an installation video. This is just a video showing you how I installed my kit so that you have an option when you go to install yours. You know, you can run yours the same way I ran mine or run yours differently. It's up to you. This is just for informational purposes only. There's not a whole lot of information online that I could find showing how to install one of these kits. Lots of write-ups, but no videos showing you, a visual on how to do this. So what I'm going to do is take you in the garage, just show you how I ran the wires, where I drilled the holes, explain some of the issues that I had during the installation so that you can be mentally prepared whenever you go to do yours. All that being said, I'm going to take you to the garage. I'm going to show you how to do this, and we'll get started. Alright guys, we are in the garage now. I've already taken the box off of the posts and just set it to the side. It's in the spare tire wheel well. So this is where the box sits. As you can see, this is one of the mounting rods where I had already drilled the hole for. This one is actually sitting on top of the gas tank, so it will not fall down. The other one, which is over there, as you can see, I had to drill it twice. I actually drilled into the frame of the car the first time. The other one fell through and is laying on the ground. One thing I do want to note while I'm talking about this, I mentioned that I drilled into the frame of the car. If you are planning on making your car NHRA compliant, you do have to mount this box to the frame. So this particular video may not necessarily apply to you as far as where I mounted my box, because mine is not mounted to the frame of the car. It is just drilled into the floorboard. I actually missed the frame on both sides. So that being said, if you are going to make your car a race car and it's going to be NHRA compliant, it has to be mounted to the frame. Now, that is the second rod that fell. What I'm going to show you is where that hole comes out. So right here is where that second rod goes on the car. As you can see, there's the frame. That is where it needs to be mounted to if you are going to make your car NHRA compliant. It would probably be easier to mount it to the frame, now that I think about it, because you could put one, over here and one further back there and have the box lined up straight. How I did it, however, I had one on this side of the frame. The other hole is actually on top of the gas tank. As you can see, there's not much space to work with there. So, that being said, that brings me to my second point. If you're going to mount your box the same way that I did, you have to loosen the gas tank straps. There are two bolts that hold these straps on to the gas tank. There's one on that side and one over on the other side. I'm not going to crawl all the way over there to show you. You loosen those two bolts and the gas tank will fall down just enough to be able to reach up there to push your other mounting rod up towards the hole. So that was the easiest way I found to do it, was just loosen the gas tank. Not all the way down. If you have gas in the tank, it will crush you if you're not ready for it. But just loosen it enough to where it created a gap far enough down for you to get the rod in there. Now when you go to drill the hole, you want to be careful. You want to be careful not to hit the gas tank. I was super worried about that when I drilled the first hole. Come to find out, there's quite a bit of gap between the actual tank itself and this hole. Reason is, The tank is butted up to the bottom of the spare tire wheel well. As you can see, that's a pretty big gap there. So when you go to drill that hole, you're not gonna hit the gas tank. You know, you don't have to worry about that, not nearly as much as I thought you would have. So now on to how I ran the wires. This is the power wire. Obviously it is red. If you look back here, that is a grommet, okay? There are multiple grommets back here. Here's one, for example. I'm not sure if you can see that. There are multiple grommets back here in the trunk that you could pass this wire through. However, I wanted this to seem as seamless as possible, and I didn't want you to be able to see the cables whenever the battery box was actually installed. So I used that grommet, I poked it out, carved out a little hole with a razor blade, and ran my power wire through that. This is the ground wire, okay? As you can see, actually you may not be able to see, but I actually carved a hole into this, this trim piece, and I mounted it in there. Once you pull that trim piece down, you'll see what is actually a trunk bracket mount. Obviously this is kind of fused with the car now, but underneath that is the mount for this bottom part of that bracket. And I took the other end of this ground wire, took the bolt off of it and grounded it to the body of the car. There's no paint there. If you don't want to ground your ground wire there, wherever you do decide to ground it, make sure you have a good clean ground, okay? You can get this whole thing worked out, you could get it installed, go to start the car, and it not do anything because of your ground. There can't be any paint. If there is paint, make sure you strip it off to bare metal before you ground it. Okay, so I've shown you where I ran the wires. Now I'm going to show you beneath the car. So that grommet that I was talking about comes right out here. It's straight up. If you look straight up through this piece of the frame, that grommet leads right out into the trunk. So obviously this is your exhaust. This is going to get hot. I have some plastic wrapped around this here to help protect it. I'm actually going to go back and get some actual heat wrap protective. Actually, I don't know if it's tape or anyway, I'm going to get some heat wrap and actually apply it to this because it is close to the exhaust. It's not touching it. I'm not sure if you can see that at all, but it isn't touching the exhaust pipe. But what I did was I ran it across and mounted it to one of my aftermarket fuel rails. You can mount it to the factory fuel rails if you want. There's that. Or not fuel rails, fuel lines, excuse me. I mounted it, I zip tied it to the aftermarket fuel line and just continued running it across to the passenger side of the vehicle. It's tucked way up in there and just runs across this wiring harness. It is zip tied to that wiring harness, and then it comes back down above this exhaust hanger and runs underneath the car along that subframe connector. So this was the easiest way that I could run the wire without having to take the interior out of the car. So as you can see, this car has subframe connectors. If you don't have subframe connectors, you can still do this. However, if you do have subframe connectors, the wire is going to be a whole lot more protected because the ground, pavement, whatever will hit this before it hits the wire. It's tucked up there nicely. You can't really tell in this video, but it has good ground clearance all the way down to the front of the car. This wire is actually for the fuel system. So that's what that is. Now, back up at the front, it runs through this access hole from the back and comes right out there on the side of the transmission tunnel behind the steering column, through that access hole, and out down through here. Okay, so at this point, if you have done a wire tuck, your fuse box will be here, your power wires will be here, you've got the ground here for the old battery harness. That is what all of this is. If you haven't done a wire tuck, then your fuse box will still be mounted here. That's okay. You can take, if you don't plan on doing a wire tuck, you just plan on removing this battery tray out, cleaning up this part of the engine bay, you can take that power wire and still run it just like I did, straight to the factory battery positive terminal. What I use to connect these are these little battery poles from Advance Auto. I think they were like $7 for a pair. I used one here to ground the harness, the other here to mate the new power cable with the old. What this does is it leaves all of this factory wiring harness intact. All of this runs to your starter, your alternator. This keeps it all intact. You don't have to run different wires elsewhere. Back to making the car NHRA compliant, you also have to have a cutoff switch. That being said, most folks will mount the battery here. They will run their positive cable straight off of the battery to a cutoff switch, from the cutoff switch to the starter, and then they'll have another fuse block in between there to help help maintain that current, because you are going straight from there to the starter, then the starter to the alternator, then back here to recharge the battery. That is, you can do it that way. It's a little more complicated, but you can certainly do it that way. This way is a whole lot easier. This car will never see the track, so it doesn't have to be NHRA compliant. That is a mouthful. I probably butchered that each time I said it. So there you go. There it is. It was simple. It wasn't too difficult to run the wires. Mounting the box was actually a little bit of a pain. The drill bit that you need for those holes when you go to mount your box is listed here. It is a 3/8 inch drill bit. That will be listed in the description below. I will list all the tools needed for the installation. The box comes with most of everything you need, other than the drill obviously. So those things are going to be important to the success of installing this box. Now what I'm going to do is put the box back together on the mounting poles and show you what it looks like fully installed. And there you have the box fully installed. Obviously I don't have a battery for it yet, but that'll be tucked just a little bit further behind, and you can't even see the power wire. So it's a clean installation. Like I said, there will be carpet in the car. I'll run those posts through the carpet. It'll look as factory as possible. So all that being said, there is my quick little rundown on how to install the Taylor battery kit. So if you have any questions for me, be sure to ask, as this wasn't a complete or thorough installation video. But what is one special thing about this kit that I do want to mention is that it comes with 1 gauge wire rather than 2 or 3. A lot of reviews that I read online, I don't know if I mentioned this already, complained about starting issues when the car was warm. The thicker gauge wire helps combat that. A lot of kits come with 2 or 3 gauge wire. The 1 gauge is it's a pretty big deal. Another reason why I went with this kit. All that, let's go back inside and wrap this video up. So we are back inside. Sorry if that video was a little distraught. It's hard to record a video when everything's already installed into the car. Crawling all over the car trying to explain how you did it. But anyway, hopefully you got some useful information out of that. If not, well, I'm sorry. I will try to record a different one next time I build another car. My next video is going to be on creating the braided lines with AN fittings. The fittings that I had on back order will be here, I think, Thursday this week, Thursday or Friday. And I'd like to get those put together this weekend. So that'll be the next video. Stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy. Thank you, guys.